Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. It's me again, Jen. Hello! And happy spooky season. I love October. I love spooky. I love Halloween. And I love witches. I am a witch. And I love the Witch's Tarot. This is a deck I've had in my collection for a really long time. I enjoy it. I think the imagery is absolutely stunning on it. And it does stick to primarily the Rider-Waite traditional imagery. There are some deviations, which we've talked about already, and we probably will talk about again. The only thing I'm really not as super fond of with this deck is the court cards are very similar to one another in a way that's kind of boring and seems like you got cheated from some more interesting artwork. But that being said, most of the other cards are super cool, very interesting, and I do think that this could be a deck that's good for somebody starting out. Being that we've already seen some of the other cards that represent like the different way we're approaching this because it is a very pagan based deck that we can kind of see how there are some differentiations, but I don't think that would deter somebody who's just starting out. So without further ado, let's see what card we have for today. Oh, okay, I like this. I like this one. Okay, so we have the swords, obviously, up here all the way around, and this is 9. So it is the 9 of swords. This one actually does have it very clearly represented, white font on black background, so you can see it really clearly. There are two silhouettes kind of standing at odds of one another. They are also holding swords. And I've never really noticed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those swords are the 8th and 9th sword. I don't think I've ever noticed that before. Maybe I have. Either way, we're noticing it together. We are learning together. So there are the swords encircling these two characters. They are up on a pedestal or kind of a mesa where they are clearly on their own and facing off with one another. So a couple of differences, obviously, with this card. The 9 of Swords is typically one person depicted on a bed inside a room of some kind, and they are struggling with anxiety, sleeplessness, all of these kinds of things. So does this one stay true to the meaning of the card? I think so. And here is why. I'm actually super excited to talk about this one. I'm glad I got this one. So the opposition between these two characters is we can't see what they look like, but my guess has always been that they are the same person. That this is, you are facing off, you are dueling with yourself, with your shadow or your other side, or this is the two halves of your mind kind of fighting with one another, because the key words for the 9 of Swords are anxiety, stress, sleeplessness, just all of those things that kind of tie you up in knots inside. It can be overthinking, all of that kind of stuff. When you look at this card and you see two people, you think that it's combat between two individuals. I see it as this is with yourself, with your psyche, with your id, whatever you want to call it. This is you and yourself fighting with one another. So there's this sort of standoff as well. They're not in active combat with one another. They're not clashing swords. They're just sort of standing there facing off. So for a moment, you are just contemplating all of these things. How do you fight yourself? How do you fight your instincts, your anxieties, that fight or flight response? Is this real? Is this stress something that is important, or can you let it go? So before they duel, there's all this thought process behind it. I also really like that the swords encompassing them are all aimed at them. And this is where my geek shines through. It sort of reminds me of a lot of the imagery that's in like Revolutionary Girl Utena. That's totally a throwing back anime from like the 90s or something. Anyway, but there's a lot of sword imagery in that. And there is a scene where the swords are all kind of being thrown at this one character. So giant spoiler alert on that one. But these swords look like they're going to stab into both of these characters, which means neither one of them is going to win. And that's the big thing with this one. When you are stressed out and when you have all of this anxiety, all of this overthinking, all of this drama inside your head, while you are focused on your opponent, which is yourself, you're not paying attention to all the outside things that may actually be out to get you. So when you mull and mull and mull against yourself instead of creating an ally with your mind and with your spirit, then you have all of this stress. And I just like the idea of that with this card, is that you're facing off against yourself. You're facing off against your inner demons, your inner ideas, all of those kinds of things. So I absolutely think that even though this is not someone waking up from a nightmare, it could still totally represent the same things as are in that. And it's in a more dynamic way, I think. I feel like the swords hanging on the wall in a darkened background with somebody crying on the bed or waking from a nightmare isn't as dynamic as a duel against your shadow self, a duel against your inner and outer stressors and things like that, and finding the balance between what is good stress and what is not good stress and what is just spinning your wheels kind of thing. So I'm super glad I got this card. I think the only drawback I have to this card is that swords are not red, swords are yellow. And I know that it's really kind of trying to represent that sunset, sunrise, whatever it may be. But I don't know. I'm just a little iffy on that. I feel like it could have been, I don't know, yellowish or something. I guess it's kind of orangish. I don't know. But that's my only drawback to this card. Otherwise, I really like it. And I do really think that if you pay attention to the symbolism of the card, you will still understand its meaning, even if you're a beginning reader and you're somebody who's like not too sure about the symbolism on the cards. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay spooky. Bye.